Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This. This podcast is a weekly motivational love letter to those who are looking for a change, are currently going through a change, and they need just a little pick-me-up. Tay is a transformation and spiritual coach and author who understands that one small habit over 1 year can create a lifetime of growth. First, we will talk about our topic, and at the end of each episode, I will do a trinity. The trinity is a brag, gratitude, and desire. If you'd like to share your wins, questions, and trinity, please call or text 330-552-7234 to be featured on the podcast. I love hearing about your success and how you are transforming. To learn more about your host, visit her Instagram page, Phoenix of Change. In April of 2023, I found a certification program called Mental Health First Aid. As a coach, I felt that it was important for me to learn ways to talk to people, especially if they are experiencing a mental health crisis. Working with people going through trauma could be a daily occurrence, and I wanted to be prepared. During the next couple of months, I will be doing a self-care series. I will be talking about the different types of self-care and how I use them during my first year of consistent healing practices. Note that your experience may be different and that I was not actively using these techniques at the beginning, but they grew into my life. Self-care is all about putting your oxygen mask on first to be able to help others. Self-care are the activities and practices that you engage in to help reduce stress and maintain your health and well-being. It is meant to refuel you, not deplete you. The areas of self-care that can help your overall well-being include intellectual, emotional, environmental, physical, spiritual, financial, community, and occupational. In 2022, I decided that I wanted to be more consistent in my business. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to grow my TikTok following. Now, at the time, I was making videos, but I didn't feel like they were reaching the audience that I was looking for. So what did I do? I needed to have a catch. So my catch was doing sock videos. And basically what that means is I got on TikTok every morning. I uploaded a video saying, hey, these are my socks for the day, my motivational speech, and then showed everyone my socks. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having over 230 plus pair of socks. And trust me, the collection is still extensive. Now, the 230 pairs grows every single day, every single week, every single month. But I can tell you that one of the places that I ended up getting socks from was Chakra Wonders. When I went on their website, not only did I see that they had socks, but I also saw that they had artwork, mugs, hats, and even some books. It is such a great place to go to, especially if you're looking for something that is going to... What I love about Chakra Wonders is that it's an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That is chakrawonders.com. Chakra Wonders is an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That's WONDERS.com. Hi everybody, Tay here with Dear Tay You Got This. Today I'm going to be going over October self-care for 2023. And we only have 2 more months after this of self-care for you guys to get a full scope of what 2023 looked like when it came to self-care and what it was that I worked on in order to really transform the growth that I went through in 2023. Now, for October, we're going to focus on environmental and emotional self-care. And a couple of highlights that ended up happening during this month. October was a very interesting month as I began to really see anxiety and impatience in my behavior and in my process. I knew that I was ready for more change. I just didn't know what that change was or when it was going to come about. And that made me super anxious and super impatient for like the next step of healing. It's almost like being addicted to smoking cigarettes, and you really just can't wait until you get that next one, that next nicotine kick, right? And it was kind of like that as I was going through this year of growth and transformation and really looking at the things that I was doing to move my life along. I started to really feel ready for more challenges, more changes, more transformation. And I noticed that I started to get really impatient. And what ended up happening was I could have basically threw that whole thing off by taking the steps that I did. Luckily, they happened a lot quicker than they would have in any other situation. It was almost like building up Jenga blocks, and then taking out the one that's going to topple the whole thing. I almost did that, but I was able to catch myself, which was great. But it really kind of made me look at my life and my choices, which you'll see in November self-care. But yeah, that was actually a really wild ride. I began to declutter and switch up my environment because I started to feel like something needed to move. And again, I think that has a lot to do with that anxiety, that impatience, that wanting more change and seeing what that looks like. And then one of the other things that I did was I became more clear on my overall goals when it came to career and my love life. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start into that emotional piece. And we're going to talk about the impatience and anxiety of change. Now, I feel like most times when this is brought up with the impatience and anxiety of change, it's mostly of like the actual change itself. It's interesting because there are people out there who say that excitement and anxiety are part of the same feeling or like part of the same emotion. And in my case, I could definitely see how I was excited for change, but then I was also very anxious for it. It was almost like there was this huge weight of anticipation that was happening. And it really felt like I was in Rocky Horror Picture Show when they go, Antissa, and then you're waiting for them to say the patient. And it wasn't coming. So it was just like, okay, I'm just sitting here like, I feel like I was lollygagging on what it was that really needed to happen. And the part that was really impatient about is that I didn't know what it was that needed to happen or what it was that was going to happen. And I knew that I was just ready for more change to happen. I was ready for things to continue moving forward and progressing in the way that they were. And it wasn't like I had become stagnant in my growth or in my healing at all. It was just that I knew that there was more on the horizon and I could not wait for that to happen. Like I was just like, ooh, 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 let's do it. And because of that, one of the things that I realized is that I started to think about making choices before I was even ready to make those choices. So one of the things that I work on in my chakra healing workshop or my chakra alignment workshop is really getting clarity and gaining clarity on your path and your purpose and who you are and the changes that you want to make so that you know exactly where you're going from here. The one thing that I did in October was I dropped the ball and I stopped. I wasn't really meditating as much as I should have been. And because of that, I really started to see how my anxiety and the things that I wanted to like come into fruition were like really like everything's like revving up. And I really didn't know like, oh, what is it? What's going on? And instead of sitting back, meditating and letting it come to me as time was going by, I was like, nope, we gotta make things move. We gotta make things shake. We gotta, right? Think about, when you're on the road and you're looking at your GPS and you're driving to your destination and you see that there are 4 different paths that you can take. And they're like, you can take this way, it's going to be 2 minutes longer. You can take this way, it's going to be 3 minutes longer. You can take this way, it's going to be the same amount of time. Or you can take this other path that you're on, which is basically the same path that you've been on the entire time. And that's kind of what happened when it came to my trajectory for my growth and my healing, is that I came to this point where I was so anxious that I started to create extra paths that maybe would make me get there quicker or would maybe slow me down. And because I didn't know, because I didn't have the GPS to tell me exactly what it was, I decided that I was going to go ahead and just jump on it and go for it. Now, in this particular situation, without going into many specifics, I tried to rush along a relationship that, in hindsight, probably was not meant for me. And I say that because one of the things that I had to do was I go back now and I think about it. And, of course, hindsight is always 2020. I go back and I look at it and I say, okay, I know that I was really super anxious in this space. I know that there were things that I wanted and that I didn't want to wait for. And I knew that there was a possibility that I could get that from somewhere else, but was that exactly the place where I needed to get it? And that was the issue that I was having. It was really making a decision that could either throw off my whole path. So think about that 2-minute delay. This actually could have caused a 1 month delay, where this other path that I could have taken would have caused a 3-month delay, or I could have stayed on the same path that would have kept me right in the trajectory that I was supposed to be going all along. And we do this often when we're making changes, when we're creating our lives. We sit back and we look at the different roads that we can take. How many people have literally sat back, looked at their life and was like, if I could do this all over again, right? And I look at my life and I say, I wouldn't do it over, because although this particular path has led me right here where I am now, doing this podcast, working full-time for a family law attorney, owning my own house and actually being able to pay my bills, like getting my financial situation together, all of these things probably could have happened if I changed certain things within my life. I probably could have still met the same people that I've met now. I probably could have, went in the same direction in a different state. But I chose this way. And when I talk to people, I tell people all the time, I would not change the things that I have done now because of the life that I've created and the place that I am now. And it's the same thing when it came to this impatience. I didn't know exactly what it was that I was looking for in my life. I didn't know exactly what that change would be. And I definitely should have took note from my NAT therapist, who basically, when she moved to her new location, she was like, I kept meditating and I kept getting the word progress. And she was like, I had no idea what that meant. She was like, she was just like, yes, I'm making progress. Like, what else is there? And she just kept meditating on it. And that's what kept coming up for her. Until one day she got a message or a call about an open space where she could move her job, where she could move her business. And when she ended up at this place, it turns out that it was on Progress Parkway. And that's what kept coming up was progress. That's where it was coming up from. And instead of sitting back with myself and being like, okay, where is this anxiety coming from? Where is this impatience coming from? What is it that I can do to keep myself calm while things around me are shifting and moving? so that I can be put back in the right space at the right time. And so what I did was I decided to move things along in a very different way. And it caused me to mess up some relationships or mess up some friendships. And it caused me to really take a step back in my romantic life and really look at what it was that I wanted overall from not only the person that I was with, but in the other people in my life as well. And when I look at it now, I look at it as maybe that was meant to happen to show me that the next time I get impatient and anxious, to really just hold space for that anxiety, hold space for that impatience, and wait. I think that at the end of the day, where I ended back up, it's really funny because even though I took this like little short detour, right? It took me off my path for like a couple of weeks, like quite literally. It took me off my path for a couple of weeks, and then I ended up right back where I was before. Because I think after it happened, I realized how much I had actually messed up within my relationships, within my friendships. And I was like, okay, let's take a step back and really learn from this section. So one of the things that by getting back on that path, and I do believe that I'm back on my path, and I'll say it because once I got back on my path, things still continued to flow and go as they had been previously. That's why I don't think that I had that much of a detour. Again, it may have been a couple of weeks detour, but it put me right back where I was supposed to be and on the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I truly believe that because even now I still feel very aligned with the decisions that I made. Was there a point in that whole situation where I was like, damn, I wish I could go back and change things? Yes. But also, again, with that lesson, I feel like that was meant to teach me, like, just because you have this impatience, just because you have this anxiety and you're not sure where to go right now, it doesn't mean that you have to move. And I think oftentimes we get that way in our lives where we're like, okay, things are going all haywire. If I just move this one thing, if I just leave this job, if I just get out of this relationship, if I just, do these things are going to be right back on the path where I am or what have you not. And I will definitely tell you that sometimes you have to sit back and you have to listen to your inner self, your inner voice, and really listen and make sure that it's the path that you're supposed to go. So a few of the lessons that I learned was, first of all, there is a plan. Even if you don't know about the plan, there is a plan. And it's because it is spooky season. So because it is spooky season, when I just said that, it actually reminded me of Final Destination and how they all, if you've never seen Final Destination, you might want to fast forward a few seconds. Look a good 30, 45 seconds, because I'm going to spoil it for you. Basically, all of these kids go on this trip to Paris. They're going on this trip to Paris. They all get on the plane, and before the plane blows up, a kid has a premonition that the plane is going to explode. Him, along with several of his other classmates, get off of the plane, and the plane blows up. And then what ends up happening is each one of these people end up dying one by one. Now, the way that they end up dying on land after they get off the plane is the exact order that they would have died had they been on the plane. And there was a plan in that particular movie. They always say their death had a plan. You have to figure out death's design. And it's the same thing with your life. I don't necessarily think that there is a way that you can just by sitting here, figure out where you're supposed to end up. Is there a way that you can sit with yourself, get downloads and know what paths and things that you're supposed to take when you're supposed to take them? Absolutely. But do I think that there's this already we can get the blueprint to our whole plan? Probably not. I mean, there are some people out there who will say probably you can, but I can definitely say where I am right now, I personally do not think that's a possibility, but I do know that there is a plan out there. Even if I don't know the plan, there is one. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you cannot manipulate things that aren't meant to be. And I say this because in this particular situation, I was trying to force a relationship with a person before they even knew what was happening. And the universe is so funny. And I say that flippantly. The universe is so funny because in the way that this person found out about it was so like freaking ridiculous. Like I could not make this shit up in a movie, like at all. Um, like, or you could, I should say, you could only see the shit in a movie because the way that it happened was so like ridiculous. Um, and I think from that moment, I realized like, wow, like that just let me know that it wasn't supposed to happen. Like things were not supposed to happen that way. And even though, again, even though they did take that trajectory and I did get thrown off for a couple of weeks, I realized in that time that you can't manipulate people, places, things to do what it is that you want. At some point in that, it's going to fail. And not only that, I know this from personal experience. One of the things is I am a recovering manipulator. When I was in college, that's what I used to do. I was young. I loved the idea of drama. And one of the things that I did was I just created drama everywhere I went and I gave zero fucks. It's not my proudest moments of my life, but I know that it was a thing. I manipulated the men in my life so that I could get the things that I wanted out of relationships and things like that. And one of the things that I realized as that was going on was how unfulfilled I still felt by doing that. I wasn't really getting what I wanted. It was because of the manipulation that I was getting those things. And at the end of the day, it caused a lot of resentment. It caused me to lose friends. It caused me to lose those relationships. And now when I look at it, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that was very shitty. I shouldn't have done those things. I cannot change them now. I am very sorry that I did those things. It is really just understanding that even though you manipulate something now does not mean that that scenario that you have manipulated yourself into is going to last. And in this particular case, it only took, I want to say like, I don't know, 4 days to blow up in my face, which was, again, very ridiculous. Again, like a movie, just like a movie. And then the third lesson that I learned was that when impatience and anxiety takes form, you just want to stand still and wait for your next move. Although I did not do that at the time that this happened in October. Going forward, as I started doing things, like that was one of the things that I would tell people when they would say, like, oh, well, I don't understand XYZ, or I don't understand why I can't do this now. And I'm like, listen, I understand that you're impatient and that you want to make a move right now. But one of the things that you have to do, no matter what it is in your life, whether it's getting a new job, whether it's finding a new partner, whether it's anything, you don't want to make moves out of desperation. In October, I was making moves out of desperation. It was because I wanted what I wanted and I didn't think anything else of it. I didn't think about anybody else involved. I didn't think about the other players. I just thought about myself. And because of that desperation, I literally kicked everything to the curb and just like, everything else is to the wind. I'm going to get what I want. And then when I didn't get what I wanted, I was like, well, what happened? How did this fail? What's going on? And I realized it was because I didn't stand still. So as I went forward and up to now, when things like that happen, I kind of just like, I sit back, I let things kind of just let them play out on their own. And then I come in when I'm supposed to. It's almost like being at a concert or an orchestra and knowing the notes that you're supposed to come in on. You guys did all this practicing. You know that your note doesn't come in yet. You know that your line doesn't come in yet. You just have to wait. It's just like a movie script. It's like an orchestra playing. It's literally, there is a time and a place for all of the things. And that is the last lesson that I learned when it came to this particular situation. It was just like, just wait. Everything that you want, everything that you're looking for, everything that you desire will come in its rightful moment. And the one thing that people ask me is like, when will I know? you will honestly, if you are doing the work, if you are paying attention to the signs, the patterns, your intuition, and your feelings regarding life, and you will actually start to feel like when you are supposed to move. For example, when I got my new job, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do when I was doing it. I started meditating because things were all out of whack. Once I got myself together, at least a little bit, because I was still going through a breakup. Once I got myself together, I was like, all right, I'm ready for a change. I know that I need to do something. I'll go ahead and put my resume out. I didn't even apply to jobs. I just put my resume out. I just did that one thing. That's it. Previously, I had put my resume out the year before, and literally I went on I think it was like three different interviews. And none of them panned out. And I honestly believe it was because those were not the right positions for me. It was not the right time for me to move. So instead of continuing to put those out there, I took my resume offline and then I just sat for another year. And I did that because I understood that there is a job out there for me. And when it's right, I will get it. And it just so happened that right when I put out my resume, 2 weeks before that, and actually the week that I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, that week, the person who was in my position quit, leaving the job in a lurch. And then a couple of weeks later, I had put up my resume. Then after I put up my resume, within 2 days, they found me. Within 4 days, I had an interview. Within a week, I had an in-person interview. And then by the end of that week, I had a job. And it was because I waited. Again, I didn't make any extra moves. I just knew this is what I need to do. I'm putting my resume out there. That's it. So sometimes you just have to stand still. Sometimes you just have to wait just a little bit. I have another example of that too. I had a dream that I was reconciling with someone in my life. And instead of, when I woke up that day, I was like, all right, I felt lighter, I felt ready, and I was getting ready to send them an email, and I was like, wait a minute, don't send that email. Don't do it. And I didn't know why, but I just didn't. I was like, okay, fine, forget it. I won't send it. And I remember talking to my aunt about it a week later, and I was like, yo, like, I just had this dream. I was like, it was very weird. It felt really nice to like breathe, get that off my chest. I said, but I'm being told not to send this email yet. And she was like, well, why? And I was like, I have no idea. And by the way, this is before October. I don't know what possessed me in October to like do these movements, but I did. So I didn't send the email. And then it just so happened that like maybe a week after that, I got an email from this person, and it was not what I expected it to be. And even with trying to reconcile the situation, it did not work. So I was just like, all right. And then after that, I was like, this is why I wasn't meant to send the email, because no matter what email I had sent out, it wasn't going to be heard. It wasn't going to rectify the situation. So I was just like, cool. So that email never went out, and it actually turned into a 40-page letter that will never go out. It's just going to be in my journal forever. But these are just examples of times where I actually listened to my intuition. I think in this particular situation, it was because it was a matter of the heart and not really like a different situation. Like it wasn't like I don't know, it was more of a relationship situation and something that I was looking forward to, and something that I desired. Instead of it being like a situation where like I desired these things, but I knew that it wasn't quite the right time. With this relationship thing, with matters of the heart, I'm such a romantic, it's ridiculous. But with the matters of the heart, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I can totally do this. It's gonna be great. And then it fell apart before I could even think about it. So I was just like, it is what it is. Now I think about it again, I go back and I think, okay, I could have definitely done that differently, but I wouldn't have learned a lesson that I learned, which was to just Sometimes you just have to stand still. Sometimes you have to listen to your inner voice. And sometimes you just have to make moves when you're ready to make the moves. Now, when it came down to my environmental self-care, I did begin to declutter. And I started to switch up my environment. I really started to feel like my house was coming together after doing all of my gardening and making the outside look really nice. Of course, it was the fall at this point, and there wasn't much growing outside anymore. So I decided that I needed to change the stuff inside now as well. So what I decided to do was I decided to go to each room in my house and declutter. Like literally, there was a lot more shit in this room, which is my meditation room. There's a lot more shit in here. There was a lot more shit in every room, actually. And I really just needed to have a change of scenery. I needed a change of my environment. So one of the things that I did was I had talked with a friend earlier in that month, and this was the friend who we are no longer friends. I messed up that friendship during this time. Or I should say, I feel like I messed up this friendship during that time. But earlier in the month, we had talked about switching my bedroom and my office, because my office was a pretty decent size, but it could still fit all of my bedroom stuff. And my bedroom was actually right over the garage, so it was actually a really big space. And they had suggested that maybe I move my bed over there and into the smaller space, and plus it's like in the back of the house. I won't have much like cars and noises from the front, and there's sunlight that comes in there, and that would be great for like plants and things like that. And I was like, that would actually be a really good idea. So while I was decluttering everything, one of the things I did was I went ahead and I started in my office, and I basically just like took everything, if you will, I took everything like just and brought it to the middle and was like, all right, let's get rid of some stuff. But I did that in every single room. I think the only room I didn't have to do that in was the guest room, and that's because there wasn't a whole lot of stuff in there to begin with. But I did go ahead and go into my office, which was my bedroom previously, and I took everything and I decluttered that room. I decluttered my meditation room and the downstairs and the basement. I just got rid of a whole lot of stuff. And when I say a whole lot of stuff, I mean bags and bags on bags of stuff. And I took some stuff to Goodwill. I threw some stuff away. And it was actually very refreshing, because it was almost like I was getting ready for something. Again, not knowing what the something was, but I was getting ready for something. I was moving all of that old stuff out so that I could start moving new stuff in. And I don't mean moving new stuff in like physically, right? I don't know about you, but for me, when it comes to decluttering or getting my brain right or settling things within my brain space, sometimes it takes me really understanding that in order for me to think clearly, my physical space has to be clear. And if my physical space isn't clear, then I won't be able to think. And I know that there are some people out there like that, and you'd be like, yeah, that's me. I do the same thing when it comes to like when I'm at work and like there's a whole bunch of stuff on my desk. Sometimes I cannot think properly because there's a whole bunch of stuff on my desk. Like I need to declutter everything. So I basically take all of my papers and pull them into a pile, and then I just go through each individual paper and throw it away or put it where it's supposed to go so that I can get rid of stuff on my desk. But I took that same principle and put it to my job, put it to my bedroom and to my house, and started really getting rid of old things that I didn't need, like old pictures, old paintings and drawings that weren't mine, like just random shit that was in my house. That includes old paint, and everything, like anything that you can think of, I got rid of. And it was because I was in this space of really renewing myself, renewing my brain, and giving my brain some space to think. And it's interesting because I think that by also decluttering my house and, metaphorically decluttering my mind, I was able to start to see like the things that I needed to do within my life, which is one of the reasons why I started to become more clear on my overall goals. What it was that I wanted my career to look like, what it was that I wanted my love life to look like, and how all of that was going to shape everything that I'm doing within my business as well. Trust and believe, I did not think that a year later I would be doing a podcast. and telling you guys all about all the nitty gritty things of my life and how basically I got to where I am. I am by no means any better than anybody who has gone through changes, but I will say that I made the choice to change and I continued being consistent with those changes. And that is the only thing that makes me different from anybody who isn't changing more consistently. It's just the fact that I wake up every day and I choose to change. And I just want you guys to know that, a lot of times when it comes to these self-care things that I'm talking about, when it comes to environmental, emotional, financial, intellectual self-care, it really is about putting forth the effort into it. I do wake up every day and I think about what am I going to do for myself today? Not necessarily in these buckets, but just in general. When I woke up this morning, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get out of bed. I have some things to do. I have some emails to send out. I'm going to go ahead and send those emails out this morning. And that's exactly what I did. And it's those kind of consistent actions that help put a lot of the things that you're doing into place. And I think sometimes we misunderstand what that should look like or what it should look like, because at the end of the day, I cannot tell you how to be more consistent in your life. You have to know what it is that you want and how that consistency is going to change the trajectory of where you're going. If I did not think that I would be able to build a business doing what I'm doing, I probably would not be here doing a podcast. It is quite possible that this podcast can blow up tomorrow, and I will know that I have put forth the effort for the last year and a half trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be. And if this is where I'm supposed to be, then wonderful. But if it's not where I'm supposed to be, I'm not going to be upset that I did this podcast. I'm not going to be upset that I came to you guys and told you all of this. Because just like I told you at the beginning, Dear Tay, You Got This is a motivational podcast for myself. It is to remind myself of all of the things that I have done over the last year, all of the changes, all of the growth that I have been through that really helped me to shape who I am now and everything that I'm doing. So even if nobody on this planet listens to it, even if the same 20 people who are listening to my podcast right now listen to my podcast, and those 20 people get something out of it, I will be so very grateful. But if those 20 people share to one person and those 20 people share to one person, this podcast is going to grow. And again, I will know none the wiser until I wake up one day and I'm like, holy crap, right? So, your homework for this week. Anything within your environmental or emotional self-care journey, I want you to go ahead and choose one thing to do this week within that spot. This week for me, I'm not going to be doing anything in the environmental or emotional state. I'm actually doing something within the community state. I'm going with a friend. We were supposed to go soap making. However, it got canceled. So we're actually still going to spend that time together because she is my friend. I have not seen her in a while and I want to still spend time with her. So I was like, hey, even though this isn't happening, I set aside this time for us. So let's go do something. And she chose something else for us to do. So that's what we're going to do. But that is planned self-care. Things that I need. I need my people. All right. Even if it's not an environmental or emotional self-care, you are more than welcome to choose any of the other areas of self-care that are going to help you out this week and plan something around that. All right. Now, before I go, I am going to go ahead and do my Trinity. And as you guys know, the Trinity is what you are grateful for, something that you want to brag about, and a desire that you have. So this week, I am grateful for my business. This has really taught me being an entrepreneur in general has really taught me how to not only go for what I want, but also how to structure my life. I will say when I first decided that I was going to quit my job and just do Pure Romance, which is a network marketing type of business, when I quit my job for 8 months and decided that I was going to do that, the one thing that I realized within that journey was that I needed more time management skills because I didn't have it. I was used to working 9 to 5 every day, 5 days a week. Or I used to work 10 or 4 10s. So I only had that area of like how that schedule was supposed to go. I didn't know exactly how that was supposed to work when you work a business. And now, as I'm doing all of the things that I'm doing for my business, I realize that I can wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, work until 7:30, which is like recording or sending out emails or doing any other number of admin things. And then after I get home from work that day, I can go ahead and publish or do graphics or whatever it is that I need to do in order to get that work done. So I'm grateful that my business is not only helping me build consistency, but it really is giving me something to look forward to every day. My brag. One of the things that I want to brag about is that one of my paintings was auctioned off for $33. I'm like super excited about that because what did I give? I gave 2 paintings and a Reiki session. And only one of the paintings was auctioned off, and the Reiki session was still put into the Reiki session, and the other painting were put into another small auction for the same organization. But one of the paintings actually went for $33. And mind you, I didn't put it out there for a whole lot when they did the painting in general. But it sold. I'm excited. Somebody has my random art in their house, or they put it in their garage. I have no idea. I don't even care, honestly. The fact that the money was going to a good cause, and somebody received my art. I feel like that's an accomplishment. I honestly they can take it and gift it if they wanted to, like whatever they want to do. But it sold, and that is something that I really wanted to brag about. And at this moment, when it comes down to a desire, I really want to go on a relaxing retreat or something. I need to take a break. It's been a very long year so far. I mean, we're in October of 2024, and I can tell you that from October of 2023 to now, a lot has transpired. And honestly, I kind of just I want to take a nap. I want to kind of hibernate. I know that's not going to happen because I do have other things that I have to do until they're all complete. And then luckily for me, I think the last month of the year in December, I'll be able to just sit, take a break, do work here and there. I will still be recording podcasts if I haven't already recorded them previously to go ahead and just really take a break in December. But honestly, super excited, super stoked to really just take some time to relax and not do anything. Yeah. The interesting thing is our next week, we are going to be talking a little bit about burnout. I don't think that I'm quite yet at burnout, but if I keep going at the pace that I'm going, it probably will turn into that. So we're going to go ahead and hit that before it gets here and kind of die down on all of the things. So I hope that you guys got something out of this week's episode. Please, 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 if you want to let me know any of your wins, go ahead and text me at 330-552-7234. Or you can go ahead and send me an email and give me your stories of your changes that you've been going through and how the trajectory of your life changed just by making one decision. I am so excited to see you guys next week, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to Dear Tay, You Got This. If you liked this podcast episode and found it helpful, please subscribe today and share this episode with a friend. If you have any questions, comments, wins, or would like to be featured on this podcast, please call or text 330-552-7234 or email info@desirablephoenix.com. See you next week.